The year was 2347. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Coalition for more than 100 years. In all that time, humans had followed the rules. They kept quiet. They did what they were told. They accepted that they were a young species in a galaxy full of ancient civilizations. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest shipyard. He watched as thousands of construction drones worked on the skeleton of a massive ship. The vessel had no name yet. The military called it Project Ironclad. Admiral Cole walked up beside him. Her gray hair was tied back, and her face showed the lines of 30 years spent fighting for this moment. "The Coalition inspectors come tomorrow," she said. "They have heard rumors about what we are building." Daniel nodded slowly. He knew the rules better than anyone. The Galactic Coalition had strict laws about warships. No species could build vessels that were too powerful. The weapons could not exceed certain limits. The shields could not be too strong. The engines could not be too fast. These rules existed to keep balance in the galaxy. No single species could become stronger than the others. Humanity had followed these rules faithfully, until now. Project Ironclad was different. Earth's engineers had spent decades studying coalition technology. They had found loopholes in every regulation. They had developed new ideas that did not break any specific rule but completely destroyed the purpose of all of them. "How will we explain the power core?" Daniel asked. Smiled. "We will not explain it. We will show them exactly what we built. Then we will watch their faces when they realize they cannot stop us." The next morning, a group of coalition officials arrived at the shipyard. High Arbiter led them. He was a tall gray creature with 4 eyes and long limbs that moved like water. Behind him came representatives from 6 other species. There were the beings made of living crystal. There were the insect-like creatures with sharp mandibles. There were the Meridians, who lived in water and communicated through bioluminescent lights. Daniel guided them through the ship. He watched 4 eyes grow narrow as they walked through the engineering section. "This power core," said through his translator, "explain what it does." "It is a modified fusion reactor," Daniel replied calmly. "It meets all coalition specifications. The energy readings suggest otherwise." Stepped forward. "High Arbiter, the coalition rules limit reactor size and fuel use. They say nothing about efficiency. Our engineers simply found a way to get more energy from the same amount of fuel." His mandibles clicked together. It might have been frustration. "And the hull material?" "Standard titanium alloy with ceramic plating, all approved materials. Yet our scans show defensive capabilities far beyond anything we have seen before." Daniel shrugged. "The regulations specify what materials we can use. They do not specify how we arrange them. We developed a new pattern that spreads energy damage more effectively." The inspection continued for 3 hours. With each system they looked at, the coalition delegates grew more upset. The weapons were technically within size limits, but they achieved devastating power through new targeting systems. The engines met fuel requirements, but they used a new method that doubled their speed. The shields drew normal power, but they used frequency cycling that made them almost impossible to break through. Everything was legal, everything was revolutionary, and there was nothing the coalition could do about it. After the delegates left, turned to Daniel. "They have called an emergency meeting of the Coalition Council. They will try to shut us down." "Let them try," Daniel replied. "By the time they agree on new rules, we will have a whole fleet of these ships." 3 weeks later, the Coalition Council met on a neutral world called Prime. Daniel attended as humanity's military representative. He stood before delegates from 400 species. High Arbiter spoke first. "Humanity has violated the spirit of coalition law. Their new warship threatens the stability of the entire galaxy." "Which specific rule have we violated?" asked from her seat. Silence filled the chamber. "The ship must be destroyed," insisted. New rules must be made immediately. The delegate, a towering figure of glowing crystal, rose to speak. They make a good point. However, we cannot punish a species for following our laws. We can only change those laws for the future. The debate went on for days. Some species demanded military action against Earth. Others argued that humanity had simply outsmarted them fairly. A few quietly asked if they could buy the new technology. In the end, they reached a compromise. Humanity's ship, now officially named the USS Liberty, would be allowed to exist. However, new rules would be created immediately. These rules would specifically ban every innovation humanity had developed. The Liberty would remain the only ship of its kind. Its specifications were added to a new category in Coalition law called Prohibited Class. Any future ships matching its capabilities would be illegal. Daniel smiled as he read the final decision. The Coalition thought they had contained the threat. They had no idea that humanity had already started building 12 more ships. Each one was designed to exploit different loopholes in the new rules. Back on Earth, Daniel walked through the completed Liberty for the first time as its official captain. The ship was beautiful. It was sleek and powerful, built for a kind of warfare the galaxy had never seen. Commander Lisa Morgan met him on the bridge. She was his executive officer, a sharp woman with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. "The crew is aboard, Captain," she said. "We are ready for our first mission." "What mission is that?" "Patrol duty along the outer reach. The Coalition wants us far away from the core worlds." Daniel laughed. "They are scared of us." "They should be." He settled into the captain's chair and looked around at his bridge crew. Communications Officer Brooks sat at his station, young and eager. The other officers watched him with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "Take us out, Lisa," Daniel said. "Let us show the galaxy what humanity can do." The Liberty's engines hummed to life. The ship rose from the orbital dock and turned toward the stars. It moved with a grace that no Coalition vessel could match. As they left Earth's orbit, Daniel thought about what lay ahead. The Coalition had tried to limit humanity for 100 years. They had written rules designed to keep humans weak and dependent, but humans had never been good at following rules that did not make sense. The Liberty was proof of that. It was a ship that should not exist, built by a species that refused to accept its place. And this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there in the darkness, Daniel knew, something was waiting. Something that would make the Coalition's petty politics seem like children's games. When that day came, humanity would be ready. The USS Liberty jumped to faster-than-light speed and vanished into the void, leaving behind a galaxy that would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the Coalition's ruling. The USS Liberty had finished its test flights and received orders for its first real mission. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge, watching stars streak past as the ship traveled at speeds that made Coalition observers nervous. Commander Lisa Morgan approached with a data tablet in her hand. "Captain, our long-range sensors are picking up something strange. There is a distress signal coming from the outer reach." Daniel frowned. The outer reach was empty space beyond Coalition borders. Most species avoided it completely. "What kind of signal?" "Coalition standard emergency frequency. But there should be no one out there. The nearest patrol route is 30 light-years away." "Set a course, maximum speed." The Liberty arrived at the location and found a scene of horror. A Coalition science vessel, a Meridian ship called the, drifted among floating debris. Its hull had been torn open in dozens of places. Atmosphere leaked into the cold void of space. "Life signs?" Daniel asked. "Very few," Lisa reported. "Maybe 40 survivors from a crew of 300. Daniel turned to his communications officer. "Get me the senior surviving officer." The flickered and showed a Meridian floating in a water-filled emergency chamber. The aquatic creature's glowing markings pulsed weakly with distress. "Human vessel," the Meridian said through the translator. "Thank the deep waters, we thought we were alone." "What happened here?" Daniel asked. "They came from the darkness, ships we have never seen before. They did not speak to us, they did not warn us, they simply attacked." The Meridian's voice shook with fear. "They were testing us, studying how we fought, how we died. When they learned enough, they left." "Who are they?" "We do not know. Our sensors could barely see them. But Captain, before they left, they scanned the surrounding space. They know where the Coalition worlds are. I believe they are coming." Daniel felt ice form in his stomach. "How many ships?" "We counted 17. Each one was larger than our biggest warships." The Liberty rescued the survivors and raced back to Coalition space. Daniel immediately asked for a meeting with the Coalition Council, but his warnings were met with doubt. "Humanity seeks to justify its military buildup with stories of imaginary invaders," High Arbiter declared. "Though was probably destroyed by pirates." "I have 40 Meridian witnesses who say otherwise," Daniel replied. "Traumatized survivors often remember things wrong. We will send an investigation team." "By the time your team arrives, those things could be attacking your—" Four eyes narrowed. "Are you threatening us, human?" "I am trying to warn you." The council ignored his concerns. Daniel returned to the Liberty feeling like a man screaming into a storm that no one else could see. Admiral Cole contacted him through a secure channel. "I have seen your report. Earth believes you." "Earth is not the problem. The Coalition will do nothing until something terrible happens." "Then we prepare alone. How long until the next ship is finished?" 3 months for the Defiance, 6 months for the Constitution and the Resolute." "Make it faster. I have a bad feeling about this." Was right to worry. 3 weeks later, the unknown fleet struck again. This time they attacked a colony at the edge of Coalition space. The attack lasted less than 2 hours. When Coalition forces arrived to help, they found nothing but ashes and silence. 40 million had been killed. Now the galaxy paid attention. Emergency meetings were held. Military forces gathered, but the Coalition's response was slow and clumsy. Their combined fleet was large but ordinary. Every ship was built to the same weak standards. They were designed to maintain balance, not to fight real wars. Daniel received new orders. The Liberty would join a Coalition task force patrolling the outer reach. He would serve under Admiral, who was a distant cousin of the High Arbiter. "This is a mistake," Lisa said as they prepared to leave. "Has never commanded anything bigger than a patrol group. He is a politician, not a warrior." "I know, but we need to be there when the enemy appears. If we can learn their tactics, find their weaknesses, we might survive." The task force had 47 ships from 12 species. The Liberty was by far the most powerful vessel. This made the other captains uncomfortable. Admiral placed them at the back of the formation, supposedly to protect the supply ships. They waited for 2 weeks, watching empty space. Then the enemy came. They appeared without warning. 23 ships dropped out of some kind of faster-than-light travel that Coalition sensors could not detect. They were nightmares made of black metal and strange shapes. They moved in perfect coordination, surrounding the task force before anyone could react. Admiral panicked. "All ships fall back to defensive formation." Daniel watched the tactical display with growing horror. That is exactly what they want. They are pushing us together to make us easier targets. "Captain, we have orders," Lisa said quietly. "Orders that will get everyone killed." Daniel opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Hayes. Break formation immediately. Scatter and attack freely. Do not let them trap you." His voice cut across the channel. "You dare disobey my orders, hold position or face punishment." The first enemy weapons hit before Daniel could respond. A cruiser at the center of the formation simply vanished. It was vaporized by a beam of energy that destroyed its shields in one shot. "Scatter," Daniel repeated. "Scatter now." Some captains listened. Most did not. The enemy cut through the clustered ships like a blade through paper. Vessel after vessel exploded. Their standard shields were useless against weapons designed to exploit every weakness. The Liberty charged forward, ignoring screaming orders. Daniel had studied the recordings from the attack many times. He had noticed something others missed. The enemy ships all fired at exactly the same moment. This meant they used a networked targeting system. If he could disrupt that network, they would lose their advantage. "Flood their frequencies with every kind of interference we can make. Lisa, take us close to their command ship." "Close?" Lisa's eyes went wide. "We will be right in their weapons' range." "Their weapons are built for long distance. They sacrifice accuracy for power. Up close, we have the advantage." The Liberty dove into the enemy formation. One human ship surrounded by alien nightmares. The ship's advanced shields held against blows that would have destroyed any coalition vessel. Its weapons struck with deadly precision. Daniel's gamble worked. The interference disrupted the enemy's coordination. Their perfect timing failed. Ships began firing independently, and suddenly they were not the unstoppable force they had seemed. The surviving coalition vessels around the Liberty. They took advantage of the confusion. For the first time, enemy ships began to fall. But it was not enough. The task force had lost too many ships too quickly. Daniel made a choice that would haunt him forever. "All surviving vessels, retreat to the nearest. We will cover your escape." "Captain, we cannot hold them alone," Lisa protested. "We can hold them long enough." The Liberty fought a desperate battle, dancing between enemy ships, drawing fire away from the retreating survivors. The ship took hits that would have crippled anything else. Systems failed. Crew members died. But the shields held and the engines kept working, and somehow, impossibly, they survived. When the last coalition ship jumped to safety, Daniel ordered retreat. The Liberty limped away, barely working, leaving behind the wreckage of 31 Allied vessels. The enemy did not chase them. They simply watched the damaged human ship flee. Then they vanished back into the darkness. Daniel sat in his ruined bridge, surrounded by smoke and the quiet crying of his surviving crew. They had won in a way. The enemy had been driven back, but the cost was terrible. Admiral was among the dead. His ship had been one of the first to fall. Daniel said tiredly, "Send a message to Earth. Tell them the war has begun." The news of the Outer Reach battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. 31 coalition ships had been destroyed. Thousands had died. The enemy, now called the Void Swarm by terrified survivors, had shown power that made the galaxy's combined military look like toys. But one ship had survived. One ship had fought them and lived to tell the story. Daniel Hayes became famous whether he wanted it or not. Coalition news networks showed his face on 1,000 worlds. The human who had disobeyed orders to save his allies. The captain of the impossible ship that had done what no one else could. High Arbiter was not happy about this. "This human made a joke of Coalition command," he declared at an emergency council meeting. "His disobedience cost Admiral his life." Admiral Cole stood to respond. His disobedience saved 2/3 of the surviving fleet. If everyone had followed Admiral's orders, no one would have survived. The council chamber exploded into arguments that lasted for days. Meanwhile, the Void Swarm struck again and again. Colony worlds burned. Outposts went silent. The enemy seemed to be testing the galaxy's defenses before launching a bigger attack. On Earth, construction of new ships moved faster than ever. The USS Defiance launched early, commanded by Captain. The Constitution followed 3 weeks later under Captain Sandra. The Resolute was finished within 2 months, commanded by a former test pilot named Stone. But 4 ships against an enemy of unknown size was not enough. Earth's leaders made a difficult choice. "We are giving away the technology," told Daniel through a secure channel. "Full plans for our ships, free to any coalition species that wants them." Daniel was shocked. "The coalition will never accept. They have spent a century trying to keep us weak. They do not have a choice anymore. Either they accept our help or they watch their civilizations burn." The offer was presented to the Coalition Council. The debate was fierce. It lasted 3 weeks while more worlds fell to the Void Swarm. In the end, survival won over pride. By a narrow vote, the Council accepted humanity's gift. Engineers and scientists from dozens of species traveled to Earth. Human teachers showed them how to build the new ships. Within 6 months, the first non-human vessels using the technology were under construction. Within a year, a new fleet was taking shape. But the Void Swarm was not sitting still. They attacked Earth directly. They skipped the colony systems and went straight for humanity's home. 87 enemy ships appeared in the Sol system, the largest force they had ever used. 4 human warships waited for them. Daniel had been expecting this attack. He had studied the enemy's pattern. They always tested defenses before big attacks. They had been working toward Earth since the beginning. "All ships begin attack plan," he transmitted. "Lisa, take us to the front." The Liberty led the charge, with the Defiance, Constitution, and Resolute behind it. A mixed fleet of older human ships provided support. Their outdated weapons did little damage, but they forced the enemy to split their attention. The Battle of Sol was the largest fight in human history. It raged across the entire system for 18 hours. The 4 advanced ships fought like demons, using every advantage their designs provided. But 87 against 4 was too many, even for the best warships ever built. The Resolute fell first. Its shields finally failed after taking enough firepower to destroy a moon. Captain Stone ordered his crew to escape pods, then rammed his dying ship into an enemy warship. Both ships exploded together. The Constitution was crippled an hour later. Its engines were destroyed by concentrated fire. Captain saved most of her crew by crash landing on Mars. She kept fighting from the surface, using ground-based weapons to attack the enemy fleet. Daniel and Captain fought on alone. The Liberty and Defiance danced through the swarm of enemy vessels. Together, they had destroyed 23 enemy ships, but more kept coming. Daniel's voice came over the radio, strained and tired. "My reactor is going to explode. I can hold it together for maybe 10 more minutes." "Then make those 10 minutes count." Laughed grimly. "I plan to. It has been an honor, Hayes." The Defiance broke away and flew straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Its final act was to make his reactor explode on purpose. The blast destroyed his ship and 7 enemy vessels around it. Daniel was alone now, 1 ship against 54 enemies. And then help arrived. They came through normal, faster-than-light travel, which meant Daniel could see them coming. Ships from every coalition species, hundreds of them, the largest combined fleet in centuries. Leading them were a dozen vessels built using human technology. At the front was a cruiser carrying High Arbiter himself. "Human vessel Liberty's voice came through the radio. "We stand with you." The battle turned. Fresh ships attacked the tired enemy fleet. The enemy was suddenly outnumbered, and the new ships built with human technology proved just as deadly as the originals. For the first time ever, the Void Swarm retreated. They fled the Sol system, leaving behind the wreckage of 62 of their ships. Earth had survived. After the battle, Daniel stood on an orbital station watching repair crews fix the Liberty's damaged hull. Approached him, moving more slowly than before. "I owe you an apology," Captain Hayes said. "I let pride and fear blind me to the truth. Your species is not a threat to the galaxy. You may be its only hope. Daniel nodded slowly. The enemy will return. This was just a small taste of what they can do. Then we must be ready, together. For the first time since the nightmare began, Daniel felt hope. Humanity had given the galaxy the tools to fight back. Now they had to use them wisely. The coalition had changed. Species that had distrusted each other for centuries now worked side by side. Old rules about limiting military power were thrown away. New shipyards opened on every major world, building vessels that would have been illegal just a year ago. Daniel was promoted to admiral. He did not want the rank, but he accepted it. Someone had to lead the combined fleet, and his record spoke for itself. Lisa Morgan was promoted to captain. She took command of a new ship called the USS Valor, sister vessel to the Liberty. You could have had any ship in the fleet, Daniel told her. Why stay with the forces? Lisa smiled. Someone has to keep you from doing something stupidly heroic. Earth began to heal. The scars of battle faded as construction crews repaired the damage. But everyone knew this was just a pause, not an ending. The Void Swarm was still out there, watching, waiting, planning their next move. Daniel spent long nights studying everything they knew about the enemy. Their ships, their tactics, their patterns. Somewhere in that data was a weakness. He just had to find it. The galaxy had come together at last. Humanity had shown them the way, but the hardest battles were still ahead. And Daniel Hayes would be ready when they came. The Void Swarm's retreat from Sol gave the Coalition something valuable: time. Months passed without a major attack. The new fleet grew stronger every day, but everyone knew the enemy was still out there, watching and preparing. Admiral Daniel Hayes used this time to push for something no one had tried before. He wanted to strike first. The enemy had been attacking from somewhere beyond the outer reach. If the Coalition could find where they came from, maybe even their home, they could end the threat forever. The Council did not like this idea. "We cannot risk our new fleet on a trip into unknown space," said the delegate. "Our first duty is defense." "Defense alone will not win this war," Daniel replied. "We need to understand what we are fighting. Where do they come from? What do they want? How many are there?" High Arbiter, now humanity's strongest supporter, spoke up. "Admiral Hayes makes a good point. We cannot hide forever, but sending the whole fleet would be foolish. I suggest a small group of ships, heavily armed, with one mission: gather information." The Council eventually agreed. Daniel was given command of 5 advanced warships. The Liberty would lead. Joining it were the USS Horizon, commanded by Captain Amy, the vessel Blade of Stars, the crystal cruiser Eternal Facet, and the carrier Hive of Vengeance. Captain Lisa Morgan had been offered command of her own ship for this mission. She refused. "Someone has to keep you from doing something stupid," she told Daniel. The task force left Coalition space to cheering crowds. They passed through the outer reach, following the path the enemy had taken when they retreated. For weeks they traveled through empty space, finding nothing but dust and distant stars. Then they found the graveyard. Thousands of ships drifted in a massive field of debris. Vessels from species the Coalition had never seen. Some wrecks were millions of years old, so ancient they crumbled at the slightest touch. Others were newer, perhaps only a few centuries old. "The Void Swarm has been doing this for a very long time," Lisa said quietly as they looked at the destruction. "This is not their first galaxy." Daniel felt cold. They are not invaders, they are exterminators. The task force continued forward, driven by grim determination. Eventually, their sensors found something ahead: a massive structure, bigger than anything they had ever seen, floating in the void between galaxies. It was a station of some kind, a hub of alien technology that pulsed with dark energy. Ships entered and left constantly, Void Swarm vessels traveling to unknown places. "It is a gateway," Captain Amy suggested. Some kind of network that lets them travel between galaxies. This is how they move around. Daniel studied the tactical display. The station was heavily guarded. Hundreds of enemy ships surrounded it. A direct attack would be suicide. "We need to get inside," he said. "Find out where they come from, learn what they are planning." "How?" Lisa asked. "We cannot fight through that many ships." Daniel turned to the captain, a warrior queen named who commanded the Hive of Vengeance. "Your species is good at sneaking, right?" His mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "We are." A small team, using captured enemy technology to hide themselves, could possibly reach the station without being seen. The plan came together over the next few days. His warriors had captured a damaged Void Swarm shuttle during an earlier battle. With some changes, it could carry a small team close enough to sneak aboard. Daniel insisted on leading the mission himself. Lisa fought against this with every argument she could think of. "You are too important to risk," she said. "Send someone else." "There is no one else. I am the only one who has faced these things up close multiple times. I know how they fight, how they think." He put his hand on her shoulder. "If I do not come back, you take command. Get this information to the coalition no matter what." The team had 6 members. Daniel, 4 warriors, and a scientist named Crystal 7 who specialized in alien technology. They boarded the modified shuttle and launched toward the station, hearts pounding as they passed through the enemy fleet. The disguise worked. They docked with the station and began exploring its vast, alien corridors. What they found inside was worse than anything Daniel had imagined. The station was not just a gateway. It was a library of death. It contained records of every civilization the Void Swarm had ever destroyed. Billions of species across millions of years. Their histories and technologies were preserved even as their people were killed. Crystal 7 connected to the alien systems and translated what they found. "They do not see themselves as destroyers," they said, their crystal body flickering with distress. "They believe they are saviors. They destroy civilizations to prevent them from destroying themselves or others. In their mind, intelligent life is a disease that must be stopped." "They kill everyone to save the universe from everyone," Daniel said bitterly. "That is insane." Logical from their point of view. They have watched the rise and fall of countless species, war, genocide, environmental destruction. They decided that intelligent life always leads to suffering. Their solution is to end all intelligent life. What are they, machines? Partly. They were organic once, millions of years ago. They uploaded their minds into artificial bodies. They believe they have risen above the flaws of biological life. They see themselves as the galaxy's immune system, killing threats before they can spread. Daniel felt sick. They were not fighting monsters. They were fighting believers. True believers who thought they were saving the universe one genocide at a time. The team downloaded everything they could from the station's computers. Star charts showing every Void Swarm fleet. The location of their original, plans for future attacks. Then alarms began screaming throughout the station. They had been discovered. The escape was a nightmare, running battles through alien hallways. 2 warriors died protecting the retreat. The shuttle launched under heavy fire, racing toward the waiting task force. The 5 ships engaged the pursuing enemy, buying time for the shuttle to reach safety. It was a brutal fight, but the enemy had too many ships. The Eternal Facet was destroyed first. The cruiser shattered like glass under concentrated fire. The Blade of Stars followed, its crew fighting until the end. Daniel's shuttle reached the Liberty just as the Hive of Vengeance fell. Captain's final act was to ram her carrier into a group of enemy ships. "Jump now," Daniel ordered the moment he was aboard. "All ships, emergency jump." The Liberty and Horizon fled into faster than light, leaving behind 3 destroyed Allied vessels and 100 enemy ships screaming after them. They had paid a terrible price, but they had something priceless. They had the enemy's secrets. The two surviving ships made it back to Coalition space. Daniel immediately called a meeting of the council and presented everything they had learned. The room was silent as he finished. The truth was almost too horrible to accept. An ancient machine civilization that had been killing intelligent species for millions of years. A network of gateways spanning multiple galaxies. An enemy that believed, truly believed, that genocide was mercy. "There is hope," Daniel said finally. "We found there, a broken planet at the center of their network. It is where they build their ships, where they coordinate their attacks. If we can destroy it, we might cripple them forever." High Arbiter spoke slowly. "The largest attack in galactic history, against an enemy stronghold of unknown strength. Yes, it could be suicide. It could be, but the alternative is waiting here while they pick us apart world by world." Daniel looked around the chamber. "We have one chance, one shot. I say we take it." The vote was unanimous. The galaxy would go to war. The information from the Void Swarm station changed everything. For the first time, the Coalition knew exactly what they faced. An ancient machine civilization that had killed countless species across millions of years. They also knew where to find them. The Void Swarm's original sat at the center of their network. A shattered planet turned into a massive factory. From this world, they sent fleets to kill intelligent life across galaxies. If the Coalition could destroy it, they might break the enemy's ability to wage war. It was a desperate plan, but desperation had become normal. The largest fleet in galactic history gathered at the edge of known space. 600 warships from every Coalition species. 42 of them were built using the technology humanity had shared. At the front flew the USS Liberty, now covered in scars from countless battles. Its hull had been repaired so many times that original parts were hard to find. Admiral Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge, feeling the weight of the moment. This was it. Victory or death. There would be no second chances. Lisa Morgan approached with a data tablet. "Final crew reports are ready. Everyone is prepared, scared but prepared." "Good. Fear means they understand what we are doing." Admiral Cole appeared on the Speaking from Earth's command center. She looked older than Daniel remembered. The months of war had worn her down. "Daniel, the council asked me to thank you. Whatever happens today, you gave us a fighting chance. A chance is all we ever needed. Come home safe." The fleet jumped. They arrived in a system that was hard to understand. The Void Swarms was not really a planet anymore. It was a machine, a sphere of metal and dark energy that pulsed with evil intelligence. Thousands of ships orbited it. Construction platforms built new vessels in an endless stream. The enemy was waiting. "They knew we were coming," Lisa said quietly. "Of course they did. We stole their data. They are not stupid." Daniel opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All vessels, this is Admiral Hayes. We knew this would not be easy. We knew we might not survive. But today we fight for everyone who was erased by these machines. We fight for the future. Attack freely and may luck be with you." The Battle of the Void was the largest fight in the history of known space. Thousands of ships crashed together in a storm of fire and destruction. The Void lit up like a second sun. Daniel had studied every piece of data they took from the station. He knew the enemy's tactics, their weaknesses, and their communication patterns. The Coalition fleet used that knowledge without mercy. They targeted communication points. They disrupted coordinated attacks. They exploited every gap that appeared when enemy ships lost contact with their network. But knowledge alone was not enough. The Void Swarm had millions of years of experience destroying civilizations. They adapted quickly. They developed counters to Coalition tactics. They pressed their advantage in numbers with cold machine efficiency. Ships fell on both sides, but the Coalition was losing faster. 3 hours into the battle, they had lost a quarter of their fleet. The enemy had lost twice that number, but they had more ships to spare. Daniel made a decision. "Lisa, take command of the fleet. I am going for the planet." She stared at him. "You cannot. The defenses around that thing will tear you apart." "Maybe, but if we can destroy the construction platforms, stop them from building new ships, we might win." He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death. "I have to try." The Liberty broke away and dove toward the machine world, one ship against the heart of an empire. Enemy vessels came at it from every direction, filling space with weapons fire. Daniel flew like he had never flown before. He pushed the Liberty to its absolute limits. The ship had been built for moments like this, and it performed beyond anything its creators had dreamed. He reached the construction platforms and opened fire. Fabrication bays exploded. Assembly lines that had built warships for millions of years went dark. The enemy pulled ships from the main battle to protect there. It was exactly what Daniel had hoped for. The coalition fleet, suddenly facing fewer enemies, pushed forward. Ships that had been held back entered the battle. The tide began to turn. But the Liberty was dying. Shields failed. Holes opened across the hull. Systems went offline one by one. Daniel sealed himself in the bridge as the rest of the ship became impossible to survive in. Admiral's voice came over the radio, weak and strained. He was somewhere deep in the ship, running backup systems. "The reactor is going to explode. We have maybe 5 minutes. Get to the escape pods." "Already did. The pods launched 2 minutes ago. I stayed to give you control." "You need to leave now." "Too late for that, sir. But I can give you something. There is a clear path to the central construction hub, if you hit it with a reactor explosion." Daniel understood. One ship, one chance, one sacrifice to end a war. "Thank you for everything." "It has been an honor, Admiral." Daniel aimed the Liberty at the heart of the machine world and pushed the engines to maximum. The ship screamed through enemy defenses, drawing every weapon toward itself. A final act of defiance from a species that refused to die quietly. The Liberty hit the central hub and exploded. The blast was visible across the entire system. The machine world cracked, then shattered. Its ancient systems were overwhelmed by the destruction. Construction platforms dissolved. Power networks failed. The Void Swarm's central command collapsed in an instant. Across the battlefield, enemy ships stopped working properly. Without their command network, without their factories, they became confused and disconnected. The coalition fleet closed in for the final attack. Admiral Lisa Morgan watched from the bridge of the USS Horizon, tears running down her face. She had taken command when Daniel broke away. Now she led the charge that broke the Void Swarm forever. When the battle ended, 80% of the enemy fleet was destroyed. The rest fled into the void, without leaders or purpose. They would be hunted down over the coming years as coalition patrols found them one by one. The machine civilization that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years was finished. Humanity had won. The cost was staggering. 200 coalition ships lost, millions dead, and one man who had given everything to see it through. 3 months later, a memorial was built on Earth, a towering monument to Daniel Hayes and all who fell in the Battle of the Void. Leaders from every coalition species came to honor the human admiral who had saved the galaxy. High Arbiter spoke at the ceremony. "When humanity first revealed their impossible ship, we saw them as a threat. We tried to contain them, control them, keep them in their place. We were fools. Humanity showed us what we had forgotten, that courage and new ideas matter more than rules and traditions. Daniel Hayes was the best of his species. He will not be forgotten." Admiral Lisa Morgan stood at attention as they revealed the memorial. She thought about Daniel, about everything they had been through together, about the friends she had lost. But she also thought about the future. The galaxy was safe. The coalition was stronger than ever. and humanity, once the smallest voice among the stars, was now respected as the species that had faced the darkness and refused to give up. Daniel would have liked that. In the years that followed, new ships were built, new heroes emerged, new challenges appeared, but the ideas that humanity had brought to the galaxy lived on. The belief that new thinking mattered more than old rules, that courage could beat any odds, that sometimes the impossible was just something no one had tried yet. The USS Liberty became a legend. Its name was given to the finest ships in the Coalition fleet. Every vessel that carried that name remembered its first captain and his sacrifice. And somewhere in the void, among the debris of the machine world, a small piece of the original Liberty drifted through space, a fragment of hull plating bearing the ship's motto: "Fortune favors the bold." The galaxy had learned that lesson well.